Yeah, welcome to Outpost 95. Do video 3 of the TacMed series here. I'm going to start to break down the care under fire phase a little bit more. Thanks for joining us. Alright guys, same slide from last video here. We'll go over it a little bit more in detail though. Remember, care under fire is when you're actively in a dangerous spot, actively being fired upon. The other example I like to use is you're on the highway, somebody got ran over or hit, you need to stop all traffic moving before you can go out there and try and save them. But there's a dangerous situation here. So what you're worried about is safety more than trying to do medical stuff. This in the EMT world, we call this the scene size up. It's safe for the EMT to go in. And also in the EMT world, they'd sit at the sidelines and wait as protocol for law enforcement to make it safe for them. In the tactical world, you're part of the making it safe equation. So that's a little bit of the difference between TacMed and civilian EMS, is that you got to be super cognizant about the safety and then proactive in stopping the problem there. Concept again is really to win the fight, make it safe. Statistically speaking, they've done a lot of science when they've made the TacMed concept. If you don't win the fight, that person who's wounded has a significantly less chance of surviving. The real big breakdown would be World War II and Korea. In those two wars, almost the exact same equipment, weapon systems, doctors, even soldiers, medical personnel were used in both wars. And in World War II, where we predominantly were winning, we had a higher survival rate from the same casualties as we did during Korea, where we were predominantly losing that war. And that big time broke down the differences in survivability. But it really gets under the psychology of the person that's in a fight and they think that they're losing that fight. They're not as apt to fight for themselves, trying to keep themselves alive. So by you winning that gunfight, by you making it scene safe on the highway or whatever it is, continuing to fight for safety and the winning day, that's going to help that person get in the right frame of mind to keep themselves alive. Again, get off the X. So if you got hurt in a spot once, you can get hurt in that spot again. So you want to get to cover. Cover in the military world is something that's going to stop bullets usually. Stop all the dangerous stuff happening. On that highway, it'd be, get in a ditch, behind a parked car with the vehicles turned, so that when that gets hit, it's going in a different direction and on top of you. Care during this care under fire phase is really limited. It's going to be what you can do to yourself. You want to stop massive bleeding of your extremities, it's arms and legs. You don't really have time for anything else. Maybe airway, and if anything, it's going to be positional. We'll go over all that later. Use your best judgment, but don't get tied up in doing medicine at the wrong time. You're just going to cause more problems for everybody. Again, the only resources you've got now at this point are what you've got in your pockets, what you've got in your vest, your belt, easily accessible. You're not going to be able to go back to the truck. You're not going to be able to dig in your backpack. You're going to be working on yourself, so you'll know where your stuff's at. Okay. Part of the care under fire is you're setting priorities. Fire superiority, making it scene safe. We talked about that quite a bit now. Mission first. Remember, you're there for a reason. The reason wasn't to go out and get hurt and then bring everybody who was hurt back. You're still trying to accomplish a task, and this is just a hiccup along the way. So how does this fit in? You need to think about that, especially during your planning phases. Remember the right action, right time, right place. A little bit more example here in a minute, but good medicine at a bad time is bad medicine. So you have to really think about what you're doing, and that's kind of what this concept of TacMed's putting out. There's a verse: for everything there's a season, for every time a purpose under heaven. The good book's got a lot of wisdom in it. Just get in there and start digging that out. Okay, what have you got with you? I said that whatever you got on your chest, belt, pockets, stuff like that, that's really what you've got. We've got a list here of stuff, and this is what you'll normally find when you're out and about military context conducting an operation. You can see the IFAC, the individual first aid kit. That's probably what you're going to be using at this point, at the most. Probably it's just going to be your tourniquet. That's, again, massive bleeding of the extremities. You got other useful stuff. You know, you might have one of the Middle Eastern scarves, Taliban towels, whatever you want to call it. You can use that for a lot of blood loss and things like that, but it's more of a time-consuming procedure. So it's going to be what you've got is what's immediately accessible. Medical dude is busy. They're not going to be able to come help you right now. Like we broke down equipment, here's the people who will be working on people. You, your buddy, and then the medical dude. So right here, we're at you working on you. And in this context, you know, sometimes it's as simple as say, hey, and just shouting at somebody and saying, can you work on yourself? Even corpsmen, I've seen it, I've done it before, where like, hey, work on yourself, stupid. And that's enough to snap them out of it. Sometimes people just need to get that second shock, because getting hurt's kind of a big shock too. And that's going to shock them into reality. Like, hey, oh yeah, I can fix myself. Or hey, I can tell the guy next to me what to do, you know. All right. Remember, we got some lessons that were learned the hard way that we should learn from. I don't know who took these pictures. They're pretty infamous now in the medical tactical world. What we got here, picture 1. That's actually the corpsman gets shot. Marine goes to save him. Picture 2, you know, Marine gets shot, and so another Marine goes out. You got multiple people wounded. At the end of this, I think there's 2 in the photo, but I think there's 3 that either got killed or at least wounded. There was a sniper getting shots on the Marines, and they're trying to save the medical guy because that's what's going to save them. Yeah, if it was me, the medical guy out there, you should have let me bleed out, because more people hurt. That doesn't help anybody out. You got to take care of that problem first so that you can save everybody. Causing more casualties is not saving more lives. I get the desire, but really what the concept of this is trying to make sound decisions, you know, so that you're not causing more harm to people. All right, thanks for joining us. We talked about carry under fire. Real brief go over. Remember the highlights though. You know, win the fight, get off the X. You know, something's hurting you. You got to stop that thing from hurting people before you can go play doctor. Captain save them all. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for joining. God bless.